When it comes to footballing stories, arguably one of the best ones right now is the story of Ipswich Town, a team that a few seasons ago was in League One, found themselves promoted to the Championship and straight away got promoted into the Premier League. They played an attractive brand of football under manager Kieran McKenna that has led them to the promised land, but now pretty much everyone considers them relegation fodder and odds-on favourites to go down. But this is where I'm going to step in. I'm taking over as Ipswich manager with 5 years, not just to keep Ipswich up, but try and take them to the top of the Premier League. That's right, in today's one-off rebuild, we're going to be taking over at the Tractor Boys, aiming to get this club some trophies. Now, I said that like Ipswich have never won a trophy before, but they have. It might have been a long time ago, but they have won the English top division, they have won an FA Cup, and they've even won the Europa League equivalent back in the 1980s. Now, despite all I've just said and the fact they've done so well to get to the Premier League, pretty much everyone has got them as favourites to go down this season. They didn't really sign any real notable stars or anything like that in the summer window. Instead, they focused on bringing in some of the Championship's best into the Premier League to give them that chance, and I actually think there's some decent players in this Ipswich side. According to Football Manager, our best is Manchester City loanee Calvin Phillips. Former Spurs and Sunderland player Jack Clark offers us great options on the wing, and fullback Leif Davis is one of the most exciting talents in his position in the league. But it isn't just those players that make me quite excited about this squad. I actually think there's some players here that could develop into top talents in the future. Recent signing from Hull, Jacob Greaves, could be a top defender. Former Arsenal and Chelsea starlet Amari Hutchinson has plenty of potential. And son of a famous long throw expert, Liam Delap, offers a great option up front, and he started the Premier League season well. Now, of course, I've just told you how I think the squad is pretty good and that actually it's better than people think, but saying that, Football Manager doesn't agree, because they have got us rock bottom predicted 20th place with only 600 to 1 odds of winning the title, so I think it's safe to say winning the Premier League is not in our future, but our first aim is going to be to shore this team up and keep them in the first division. But to do so, I think we're going to have to make some transfers. Now, in this first window, I didn't exactly have a crazy budget, and despite the fact we were a Premier League team, we don't really have the reputation to attract some of the world's best players, but I still think we did okay considering the circumstances where we only had 10 million to spend at the start of the window. But before I spent any money, I got some players packing. The first one was Jack Taylor, who I have sold to Heidenheim. Now, apologies to any Ipswich fans watching. In the process of trying to rebuild this club, I imagine a lot of their squad is going to get gutted over time, but he hasn't been here for too long, so it's not like we're really missing out with him. I just didn't think he was a player we were going to use, so I've sold him on. Australian international Massimo Luongo has also left. He's gone to play for Las Palmas in Spain. When I looked at our midfield options, I didn't see him getting many minutes, so I've moved him on for 1.1 million, which gave us some more funds to spend on others. He's been with Ipswich since 2018, but I decided time was up for Janoy Donosian, who I have sold to Kaiserslautern in Germany. And the other major sale was Cameron Burgess. The 28-year-old Australian has signed for Salenzo in Italy. Now, he's been around the club since they were in League One, and we've moved him on for a profit on what the club originally paid. I was actually hoping to keep him. He looked half decent, but he decided his time was up and he wanted to move elsewhere from when I started this save. So I thought, you know what, let's move him on. His contract was going low, so I just wanted to get some cash in. And with the funds that we'd raised from those sales, I was able to sign 3 players that I think really take this team to another level. Or at least they will in the future, because 2 of them I have loaned out for further experience. The first player coming in was Liberato Kakash, who is a 23-year-old New Zealand left-back, who I think is going to be our competition for Leif Davis going forward in the team, but I felt like he needed another year of development before he came to the Premier League, so we've loaned him back out to Empoli, the club he was at, for another season. He's only cost us 2 million, so it's not like it's a crazy deal, but I think it could turn out to be a very good one. Speaking of fullbacks from the Italian league though, we've also bolstered our right-back slot for the future again, because this guy's also been loaned out. Filippo Missouri has signed from Sassuolo for a fee of 4.2 million. The former Roma player is going to spend another season there, honing his craft, getting better, and then hopefully he'll come back to us as a top talent in that right back slot. And our big money signing was a fellow Italian, but not from Serie A. This is Bruno Zappelli, who is an attacking midfielder and a central midfield option who we have signed all the way from Brazil. Signing from ATP, formerly of Belgrano, he did well in Brazil, caught the eyes of our scouts, and we have spent £12.5 million on the attacking midfielder, who hopefully can create a lot of chances for our team. And with those transfers made, this is what our best 11 looks like for our first season in the Prem as we look to stave off relegation. Now we're playing a 4-3-3 with a midfield system that includes an advanced playmaker, and here is currently our best 11. Muric is our goalkeeper. The former Burnley man looks like he should be a good player, but I know a lot of Ipswich fans in real life aren't exactly convinced. Former West Ham man Ben Johnson is our best right back, with a centre-back pairing of Dara O'Shea, the Irish 25-year-old, and Luke Wolfenden, the 25-year-old Englishman. Leif Davis, who you've met, is at left back, with a midfield of Calvin Phillips, and in front of him is Jens Kajust, who is in on loan for the season from Napoli, alongside Sammy Schmodics, who in my head was a striker, but in Football Manager is supposedly better in the midfield. And actually, he does make a very good box-to-box midfielder, so the Irishman is hopefully going to be a big player for us in that area. Wes Byrne is supposedly our best right-wing option, but the 29-year-old Welshman, I'd much rather see him replaced by Amari Hutchinson, give the young Englishman some minutes to develop. And then we've got Jack Clark and Liam Delap as our forward line. Now, as a team, I don't think that looks too bad. I think this will be very good in the Championship, but in the Premier League, maybe not so much. And if we have a look at the season preview, our signings haven't exactly helped us. Either that or everyone else has strengthened, because our odds of winning the title have gone down. We're now predicted 20th place, so it's not looking good, although saying that, Southampton are on a similar odds to us, so maybe we can finish above them. And then we're looking at the likes of Forest, Bournemouth, Leicester and Everton really as the teams we're hoping to finish above and hope they get relegated in our stead. So it really is going to be a tough first season. This might be the first rebuild where we actually get relegated, but we're going to give it our best shot. I think the tactic looks good. I think the players look good. Is it good enough for the Premier League though? Only time will tell. And I always say the rebuilds here on this channel are always full of drama, and this season, our first season with Ipswich, was certainly one of those, because it's been a mixed year, let's put it that way. There was some real low points, like our home match against Leicester, which is a game that we needed to win if we wanted to stay up really, and Edouard scored in what was eventually a 2-0 Leicester victory. A 10-man West Ham side managed to score 3 against us at our own stadium to beat us 3-0. We lost 6-1 to Forest and also lost to Bournemouth in a heavy defeat where we dropped more points. So as you can tell, form was not very good, or at least it wasn't in stages, because we'd go through months where we wouldn't win anything, and then suddenly we'd start getting results out of nowhere. Like in March time, where we managed to beat West Ham and Everton, and then we came up against Arsenal at our stadium Portman Road, which we assumed would be a loss, but Connor Chaplin got us off to a flyer on the 17th minute mark. And it was that man again, Connor Chaplin, vital in the next goal, a set piece routine, finding Schmodics, and that got us a win against the Gunners, and it was points like that that really made the difference this season. Because we finished in 14th place in a very good year for us. 45 points, 11 points clear of relegation, and it was a pretty tough year to stave off relegation, with even the 20th place team Southampton getting 30 points, so you needed a lot of points this year to stay up, but we managed to do it. 13 wins across the course of the season, some great results in there as you can tell, but also some horror shows as well. Away from home in particular, we took some batterings. Spurs went on to win the league by a pretty comfortable margin, but we have achieved goal number 1 of staying up in the Premier League. Leicester also join us as a newly promoted club staying up. Surprisingly, Brentford have gone down with Wolves and Southampton, so I'm going to take that as a successful first year. Now, saying all of that, there isn't too much that I can go off in terms of, oh yeah, this is the player we need to build around, because I didn't really see any amazing performers. Ogbene did okay off the bench, but if we're talking about players that played regularly, Jack Clark was the best with a 6.9 average match rating. He did score 12 goals in all competitions, but no one else really came close. There was 6 from Jacob Greaves at centre-back, 7 from Sammy Schmodics. We then had Sam Morsey get 5 goals. Now he is an Egyptian international midfielder. He contributed quite a bit this season, and I said Jack Clark was our best goal scorer, but you'll see all the way down here, Liam Delap did score 13 goals, although he played really poorly across the course of the season, but he did bag 13, so I don't really think we can complain too much. His goals would have definitely helped us stay up in the Prem. So our first season is something we can definitely build off. Now this is where I'm really going to start making my own changes on the team, really start out a clear out of some of these old players that I don't think are good enough and bring in some Premier League ready quality, but there's some other stuff I want to do at the club, like get the facilities in a better place, because right now they are not Premier League facilities. Budget wise, we've got £40 million to spend on new players, which is actually pretty good, and financially there's a decent amount in the overall balance. There's nothing in the debts and loans either, so we've got a good blank canvas to work on now as we start to try and make this team a side that can avoid relegation yet again. I don't think we can look too much further ahead than that right now, but maybe if we can make the right transfers, we can start thinking forward a little bit more. Okay, and in our first proper transfer window, we've got stuck in, and I think we've made some massive improvements to our team. But before I show you the transfers, if you could show your support by liking this video, you don't understand how much it actually helps the video. So thank you to anyone who takes a second to click that. You can forget about it once you've done it, but it really does help me. And subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already. We've recently surpassed 40k subs, which is amazing. The goal is 50k, so thank you to anyone who helps us towards that target. And make sure you comment down below what rebuild you want to see next. Every rebuild we do is based on your suggestions, and I'm delighted to say that this video is sponsored. That's right, this video is sponsored by Jungle Supplements. Now you might be asking, who are Jungle? You might not have heard of them. Well, that's because they're a new company launching soon who are going to be selling all of your supplement needs, whether it's your creatine, your amino acids, protein bars, whatever it might be, at some of the cheapest prices around. And to celebrate their launch, Jungle are giving you guys a chance of winning £150, and it's very easy to get involved. All you need to do is head onto their Instagram page, which you can find through the link in the description, and I'll also put a QR code on screen for you. Now, they've been generous enough to offer you guys 3 entries each, and to access these entries, you need to do the following. For one entry, you need to go ahead and follow them on Instagram. For the second one, you need to like and share the post about the giveaway, and for another, if you want it, you can go ahead and tag a friend in the comments of that post, and that will get you another entry. So there really is nothing to lose, £150 up for grabs, and you can help support a new launching company. And if you are into your supplements and whatnot, this is going to be the best place to get them. So thank you Jungle Supplements for sponsoring, but let's get back to the rebuild. So let's take a look at our Season 2 transfers, starting off with the outgoings. George Hurst, who I loaned out in Season 1, I have loaned out again to Spain. He went to Girona last time, and now to Getafe this season. He's not a bad striker, but not the kind that I really want to use. I've sold on Dara O'Shea, who was upset with the amount of game time he got last season. He joined for 7 million, played 14 times, and then wanted out. Loads of players were on his side as well, so I thought, you know what, let's just nip it in the bud, get rid of him, and he goes to Hertha Berlin in the Bundesliga for 3.3 mil. Nathan Broadhead, one of our wide options, has left to join Watford. The 27-year-old Welshman, he signed when the club was in League One for 1.2 million. In the Prem for us, didn't really do too much, so to sell him on for 7 mil, I will say, is easy money. But our biggest sale was Axel Twanzebe, who also goes to Watford, who did get promoted, hence their big spending spree. The Congolese former Manchester United player has signed for £10 million. I mean, he was at Ipswich on a free deal, helped them in the Championship, helped us a little bit in the Premier League, but only playing 6 times, 1 as a starter. If I can get 10 million for that, I'm going to take it any day. Let's get into the incomings though, where I feel like we've made some big improvements. Remember, Missouri from last season and the Barato Kakash can both join us now after their loans out, but we still sign more. The first one was another player that I've loaned out for a further season. This is Samed Bazdar, a young Serbian 21-year-old who we've signed for 1.1 million from second-tier Spanish side Zaragoza to loan him back out again. He will then come to us in Season 3, hopefully as a good striker option, but I think right now he's not quite ready, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity for only 1 million to sign someone that looks this good. A first-team improvement though is Ego Ugbu, a 25-year-old Nigerian international centre-back, right-footed defender, decent with the ball at his feet but strong in a tackle, who we signed from Slavia Prague in Czech Republic for £6.5 million. Formerly of the Norwegian divisions, the Nigerian is a very good centre-back, strong mentally as well, physically very dominant. It is going to be the linchpin in our defence. Following their relegation to the Championship, I took Wolves' Tommy Doyle and brought him to Ipswich. We have signed the former Man City player for £12.5 million. I think he could be a very good option. Of course, Calvin Phillips and Kajus, the 2 loanees that we had, have gone back to their respective clubs, so we needed some midfield reinforcements, and I think Tommy Doyle is an excellent one who can play in a variety of roles. But I think our next player was our best signing, and he was our most expensive too, our new midfield reinforcement, Joe Bellingham. It's not quite Jude Bellingham, I will say, but the former Sunderland player has signed for £15 million after a decent season in the Championship. It can rise to 16, but I think he's going to be worth that money. The game already values him at around 35 million since his move. He's got the potential to get get better, can play anywhere really along the spine other than centre-back, but this guy is a very, very big talent, someone that steps in as a Premier League quality player but could grow in to one of the best in the league if we get things right. And with those transfers made, I'm already seeing an improvement in the best 11 suggested by the game. This isn't what we'll play, just what the game has suggested as our best team. It's still the same defence pretty much, but Greaves and Ugbu make their way into the centre-back spots. We are then going to see a midfield that now includes Bellingham and Tommy Doyle. Remember, Job, not Jude. Let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. Maybe Jude will sign later down the line, but I doubt it. Then we've got Hutchinson, Clark and Delap still as that forward line, still very young, all three of them, who can develop into top talents. And I actually think it's a pretty dynamic forward line, lots of pace, lots of strength, physicality, technical ability as well in Hutchinson and Clark. I think it could be a very good mix for the Prem. Now, saying that, the board still just want us to have a go at avoiding relegation, not even avoid, they just say have a good crack at it. So clearly we're not predicted to do too well. We are no longer 20th place predicted though, now 19th, 450 to 1 odds of winning the title is better than before. Watford look shoo-ins to go down, but Burnley, Leicester, Leeds, Fulham and Forest and Bournemouth and Everton too, all considered pretty close to us in the odds rating. So it's going to be a pretty tight one. We'll do our best to stay up in season 2. I don't think it's a guarantee. We have lost some key players like Phillips, who is in on loan, so we're going to have to try and make things work, but I like to think the signings we've made have meant that we can avoid relegation for another year. But let's see what we can do in our second season at the club. And much like in Season 1, in Season 2, I'm still very confused as to how good our team is, because once again, there have been months on end where we just have not won games, and then suddenly we'll have a sprout of form where we'll win some matches. So let's take a look at some of those wins. Arguably the best one for any fan watching at Portman Road would have been this match against Liverpool, where we thought we'd won it in the 86th minute through Connor Chaplin, only for Dominic Szoboszlai to head up the other end in the 87th minute, get the ball out to Jones, who pulled it back across, and Szoboszlai was there to equalise at what we thought would now be a 1-1 game. But there's nothing better than a late winner, and in the 94th minute, Sammy Schmodic stepped onto the ball, found Connor Chaplin on that right wing, who tucked in, threaded it past Alisson and got us a late victory. There was also the crucial result against Watford at their stadium against a fellow relegation contender. Jack Clark scored from the spot early on to put us in the lead, and on the 25th minute mark, we were able to make it too. It was that man Jack Clark again who ended up getting the goal for us, and at that point we looked home and dry. Not long before half time though, former Ipswich player Twan Zabi had the ball on the edge of the area, made it out to Dedi Bashiru, who hit a brilliant strike to make it 2-1. Watford had the stadium behind them, got their tails up, and Oscar was able to make it 2-2, threading it past Muric. But as time ticked away, we were able to make a final chance, Amari Hutchinson going past his player, rifling into the corner and getting us the win. Now, I didn't show you a load of the losses this time, but it was definitely mixed results. In the cup competitions, we didn't really achieve anything, but to me that did not matter, because once more we had secured survival. 47 points this year is better than last season. As you can see, the relegated teams were a lot further off it this year. Everton in 19th ended up getting a Europa League spot. I assume they won a competition, one of the domestic ones, but we're not bothered about everyone else. We finish on 47 points. Minus 21 goal difference is not the best in the world, let's put it that way. We were getting battered in some games, but we managed to win 13 matches, this time more against teams you'd expect us to beat, and the losses coming against the sides that you'd expect to beat us. But now that we've got 2 seasons of Premier League survival under our belts, hopefully this is where we can kick on. And if we have a look, the players that are going to hopefully help us do that are the usual suspects. It's still Jack Clark as one of our best goal scorers and best performers. Muric was good in goal. Schmodic's got 5 goals, whilst Liam Delap chipped in with 12 himself. We then had 6 coming from Connor Chaplin. Arguably the biggest disappointment though was Amari Hutchinson, who played 34 times this season but only scored once, all as a starter as well, and got 5 assists. So it's not exactly the best performance in the world from him, and I'm a bit worried now that he's not going to reach the potential that he clearly does have. So that is something that I'm considering. I was giving him a lot of faith, but maybe now he isn't the player to rely upon. But thankfully we have the money to replace players should we want to. We've got £50 million to spend in our 3rd season, a huge bit of wage budget as well, and as you can see, I've been working on the facilities, we're getting them up. With that Premier League money coming into the club year on end, we've been able to keep improving things behind the scenes, and that's only going to lead to bigger things in the future for our Ipswich side. But if we want to go even further than this, again, we're going to need some squad improvements. And in Season 3, because of this enhanced reputation we've got, we were able to improve the squad massively with some new incomings. But before we check them out, just a quick announcement for you guys is, you might have heard before, I have a Patreon linked in the description, and over there, we've only ever done the save files on there. So basically, if you wanted the save files from these rebuilds, you could access them, but things are changing. Not only am I offering those save files, but going forward on the Patreon, there's going to be early video access, so you can watch rebuilds like this a day early. In fact, if you're watching this on the Thursday when it comes out on YouTube, Patreon members have been able to watch this since Wednesday. On top of that, this rebuild was decided by a poll over on Patreon, so if you want to get involved in that kind of stuff, head on over there. And finally, there's also going to be cash giveaways over on there too for any paid members. So thank you to anyone that comes over and supports me. I'm trying to do more with it now to give you guys more back as perks, to hopefully get more of you on board on there too, and we can hopefully grow it together. It really does help support me as a creator. It's maybe the most stable way that I do get supported. Ad revenue on YouTube can be quite hit and miss sometimes, so having something like that really does help me. So thank you to any Patreons. Sorry for all the plug-in, we're done in this video now. Let's get back to the transfers. Where this year, outgoings wise, I have not actually gone as crazy as you might think. There's only been 2 permanent sales in terms of players that I really think might affect us, and the first one hasn't even been here for 2 years. He's just considered one of our best still. George Hurst, a striker, has been on loan in Spain for a couple of seasons and has done well enough to earn himself a move to Leeds. 4.2 million, good luck to him. Clearly a good player, just not my kind of player. And then one of our defensive options has left for Germany. Harry Clark was a right back and centre back cover slot for us. He did well in his first year in the Prem but didn't play as much last season, and because of that he wanted out. In comes Hoffenheim for an offer of 9.5 million, and it was just a shake hands moment for both parties. He gets a move he wants, we get some money in, and we can sign some new players. And this is where I said our reputation has helped us, because we've taken a player off of the hands of Barcelona. Pablo Torre was let go at the end of his deal by Barca, so maybe I should rephrase that a little bit better, but a former Barcelona player wanted to come to us. We've got him on a free contract. 55 grand a week isn't crazy either. A very good midfield talent. The 23-year-old Spaniard has a lot of ability, a lot of potential, and will be our main creative force. Speaking of creative forces, I have loaned out Zappelli for the season because he just did not play last year, so he's gone to Udinese for the year. But back to the incomings, we have some competition for Muric. Norway's starting goalkeeper, 25-year-old Christopher Clayson, has signed from Viking in Norway, where he's been very good, for only 750,000, which is a great deal for a very capable backup who could easily push Muric for a place in the starting 11. We went to Brighton and found value in Abdullah Sima, and Brighton are kind of a team that we're trying to follow the model of. Survive for a few years in the Prem and then start to assert our own identity, and then start to bring in some players that might have resale value, and I think Sima is one of them. 4.5 mil for a very talented wide option who can play either wing, and he's a Senegalese international, can't ask for too much more. Brighton also signed a lot of young players to develop and sell on, and I think we've done that again here. Benjamin Cromeshi is a fantastic American youngster playing for Inter Miami with Busquets, with Suarez, with Alba, and of course Lionel Messi. We have signed him for 5.75 million and sent him out for another season to keep developing, and then come to us next year as a very capable midfield option. Speaking of midfield options, we added one in the transfer market permanently, the signing of Eric Martel, the German 24-year-old defensive midfield option who comes in from Köln in the second tier of Germany, where he has been exceptional in the Bundesliga too. 7.5 mil rising to 8 is not a crazy fee by any stretch, so I think this is another great deal for us. And we're always looking for bargains on the market, and I think signing a Belgian international aged 22 for only 15 million from Sporting Club de Portugal is a very good deal. Closer to 17 if all of the add-ons go through, but we have bought in Zeno de Bast, the brilliant ball-playing defender, aged 22, who's going to really add to our backline options. He was on the transfer list at Sporting Club, but we were able to bring him in, and I think he is going to be a great addition to our backline. And with 3 transfer windows under our belt now, I don't feel like we've gone crazy in the market by any stretch, but we have definitely improved this team. Muric is in goal still. We've got a backline of Missouri, who did play last season for us and looks to be a decent option, but needs to fulfill his potential a little bit more. He's at the back with Ugbu, Greaves and Leif Davis, while our midfield now features Martel, Bellingham and Torre, 3 players that we bought in ourselves. Sima comes into our best 11, and he's going to provide some real competition now from Mari Hutchinson, whilst Jack Clark and Liam Delap continue their places in that starting 11. I'm happy with this. I think the bench has got a lot of great players too. Schmodix, Bazdar is now here after his year out on loan and looks like a great talent. We've still got Wolfenden, De Bast as well, Tommy Doyle. This is looking like a very good Premier League squad. Still though, the board are only expecting us to fight against relegation, so that basically means in FM terms, if you don't know, we're going to get relegated and they would be fine if we got relegated, which tells you we are still probably expected to go down. And actually, we are just about missing out for once. We are predicted 17th place, so for once, the game thinks we might stay up. We're also considered pretty close in contention with Fulham, Bournemouth, Forest, Wolves and Leeds. Stoke and Middlesbrough are considered pretty much favourites to go down. Leicester are a little bit closer to the drop than us supposedly, but if I know anything about FM, if we have a prediction that's gone up a little bit, that means we're about to have a season of our lifetimes. Often these media predictions in Football Manager, I think, are usually 5 or 6 places behind where I think we could actually finish with the right management. So who knows, this year, maybe we can start to push the top 10. That's going to be the aim. We've settled into the Prem now. With 2 years under our belt, we've got to make sure we make some progress and don't stall. Now, there have been some footballing miracles over the last decade, namely Leicester winning the Premier League, for example. And I'm not saying this season that we've had with Ipswich is quite on the same level, but I definitely think we've either completely fluked it or we somehow created a brilliant side here. Because this season, we were playing out of our skins and picking up some real scalps as the year went by. One of those was a win against Liverpool at Anfield, Seema securing the victory. We then faced off against Chelsea in a nighttime match at Stamford Bridge after Christmas time. Kramashi was back from his loan at Inter Miami and he managed to get the first goal of the game. Chelsea did get back in it as Lavia was able to play through Raheem Sterling, who found the gap and placed it into the corner of the net. But I said we were claiming scalps this season, and this was one of them, because with 60 minutes on the clock we drove forward. It was that man Seema again scoring a brilliant goal to get us the win. So we've won at Stamford Bridge, we've won at Anfield. What about the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium? Well, we went 1-0 down after 17 minutes, but we then pounced on an error from the Spurs defence to allow us to get back in the game, Van der Ven giving it straight to Delap, who made it 1-1. Leif Davis's pressure in the left back spot allowed us to win the ball back, and again we found Delap in the area to make it 2. And in the second half we were able to add a third. Another mistake from Spurs found Bazdar running alone with a great finish to get us the win. So we were winning so many games this season that the other years we wouldn't have done. Now, I'm not saying this year was perfect by any stretch, but we had an incredible season, and it led to us finishing in 6th place on 65 points in what can be considered as one of the best seasons in Ipswich's history, or definitely in their most recent history. 20 wins, the same as Man United, only 1 less than Chelsea, 5 draws, 13 losses. Yes, only 5 goal difference, which is nothing compared to everyone else around us. We were either getting battered or battering everyone else, but we finished just above Newcastle, just above Liverpool and West Ham, some of them having really poor years. I mean, the title was won with 77 points, which just shows you there's no real dominant side at the minute in the Prem, but I'm not complaining. We have had a fantastic year, a Europa League spot won, and that is going to mean European football in our 3rd year here at Ipswich. For those wondering as well, the domestic cups we have been doing really poorly in throughout this whole save so far. The best we've actually gone, I think, was this FA Cup run where we made the 5th round, only to be knocked out by Arsenal, but the Carabao knocked out by Charlton. Not good enough, but we can forgive it with the Prem result. Now, I have to hope this doesn't raise expectation too much at Ipswich, because I must say, I feel like this was a bit of a fluke year. Now, there was some great performers that we brought in ourselves. I mean, Missouri was good, Seema came in and bagged 11, Pablo Torre scored 12, so really, we added a lot of goals this year from our own new signings. Liam Delap has developed into a 22-goal forward now, which is great to see. 6 from Kramashi, 6 from Doyle, Eric Martel doing pretty well across the course of the year, Ben Johnson as well. Bazdar managed to chip in with 9 goals himself, mainly off the bench too, is not bad at all. So I feel like this is pretty good progress, but I don't quite think we are ready to play European football. I don't think our squad is there. It's going to be interesting what we can do in the market. 63 million is certainly enough to make a change, make a difference to this squad. As you can see, the facilities are still getting better. I'm also working with the board to try and hopefully buy our stadium, which currently Ipswich do not own, so fingers crossed we can get that over the line. But it really was an exceptional year from us, and now we need to make some signings to figure out whether this was a fluke or whether we can do this on a regular basis. And it was now time for our penultimate transfer window of the rebuild, season 4, and I think once again we have just added more and more quality to this squad and got it to a point where we actually could maybe replicate what we did last season. First though, leaving the club was Al Amadi, who is a player that we've loaned out quite a few times during this rebuild. He's not quite good enough for Ipswich, I'd say, at this stage for us, but we've moved him on. Good luck to him in Empoli for 1.4 mil. Ogbene has been loaned out for the last few seasons. I wasn't really keen on him, and I've sold him on permanently now to Sheffield United for minimal fee. Sami Smodic decided he wanted to move on. He had a year left on his contract, was not signing a new one because he wanted more game time, and you can kind of understand it after last year. So he served us well enough that I think he can move on. Off to Bournemouth he goes, 1.7 mil. They get a good player, we get a complaining guy out the door, and I think we've done better in the market anyway. We also lost Ben Johnson in the transfer market this window. He has gone to Al Thai in Saudi Arabia for 11.5 million and gets himself a pretty nice contract there. A very good player for us, who actually I think will be hurt by losing. And then there's Bruno Zappelli, who has gone to sign for Bologna out in Italy. We loaned him out to Udinese, did well enough in 6 games to earn himself a £15 million move from an initial £12 million signing. Never scored for us, never scored for Udinese either, so I'm going to take that money any day. Coming in though, we had some backup on the wing. Lucas Assadi, the 23-year-old Chilean international, signs for 4.6 million from Universidad de Chile out in the country of, believe it or not, Chile, where he's been doing very well for 4 years. So we've bought him in a minimal fee on a release clause. We're either going to sell him on for a profit or see big things from him. For any of you people that continue to save over on Patreon, you have the new gen of all new gens. Valentin Torres has been signed. He's out on loan at River Plate for this season, so he'll be with us in season 5. He is an excellent finisher, 18 years of age, 20 determination as well, with huge potential. He is going to go on to be an unbelievable striker. He cost us 5 million, and for only a few million more, we have managed to pick up another former Barcelona player, this time actually from Barcelona. This is Fermin Lopez, signing for 8 million quid, a very good midfield option who can play on either wing. I'm happy with his signing. Much like Pablo Torre, he gives us extra technical quality that I think can carry us into a European position again. And then we've bought in Jared Branthwaite, which I think is a great signing. He's 25 now, the left-footed tall defender from Everton. Now, he went down with Everton and they never came back up, and for that reason, he was available on a real cut price deal. 14 million rising to 20. It's a bargain, it really is. For the player we've got here, I think we have done an unbelievable transfer there. And I really like the look of this team now. I think this team could go very far. I mean, Muric, Missouri, Ugbu, Branthwaite and Leif Davis is a brilliant backline in my eyes. Martel, Kremeshi and Torre is a very good midfield with Seema, Fermin and Liam Delap up top, and lots of great players on the bench and in the reserves too. Jack Clark still here, Joe Bellingham, Amari Hutchinson, Grease, Basdar, Doyle, the Bast as well. You couldn't ask for too much more from a team that only a couple years ago was considered favourites to go down. Now though, after our season last year, the board suddenly want a mid-table finish. We will have to compete in the Europa League as well, but what is Football Manager saying? The media prediction has us in 12th, 250 to 1 odds. Clearly we're doing something right, we've worked our way up, and if we were able to get, what was it, 7th, 6th place last year with a 17th place prediction, maybe this time we can go even further. But of course, with European competition to play, it won't be easy, but I'm hoping the team we've put together can get the job done. Now in Season 4, I'm going to give you a spoiler a little bit early. The Premier League was a lot more mixed than it was last season, but that could be forgiven because we were playing in the Europa League and we did really well in the league phase and managed to make the round of 16. But it was a real tough draw for us because our Ipswich side came up against Sporting Club de Portugal in the Europa League, a side that you'd maybe consider a Champions League side, but at their stadium we went 1-0 up through Chaplin, but they were able to hit back late on to secure the draw, Braganca finding Benny on the edge of the area who powered it home and equalised. But down they came to Portman Road, and it's been a long time since there was a European knockout game at the stadium, and I think that definitely contributed to our great performance as Basdar gave us a lead early on. We were then able to add a second later, Basdar again going through and finishing, and then with time running out, Basdar again secured the hat-trick, sending the Portman Road faithful wild, and with that we were heading on to a quarter-final of a European competition. So I must say I was a little bit annoyed when we got drawn against an English side, not quite as exciting. It was Newcastle. They came to Portman Road first and managed to go 1 look through Van Bommel, but we equalised. A corner played in, found Martel at the back post, he nodded it down to Branthwaite, who slid a shot home and got us the draw. So it was all to play for at St James's Park, and we had a match of the ages, to be perfectly honest with you. Newcastle went 1-0 up after 4 minutes through Krupi, but we were soon able to hit back. Pablo Torre finding Liam Delap onto Fermin Lopez, brilliant football being played with our Barcelona and English mix getting us the draw. But after 13 minutes, that equalised scoreline was gone because the corner came into Newcastle and they ended up scrapping it home through Bruno Guimaraes. Luis Openda, who got a 10 rating, was then running the show on the right wing. This Newcastle team has got some great players in at this point. He scored a brilliant solo goal that was free, and before we knew it, Sea of Old was playing in a corner, caught us off guard on the edge of the box, and Krupi, through a deflected shot off Openda, made it 4-1. When Openda made it 5-1, it looked like it was game over, but we weren't going out without a fight, and Hutchinson was able to bring the ball down in the area, find Fermin, that was 5-2. Now this is the 83rd minute mark, by the way. Doyle's corner comes in, finds Jacob Greaves, who heads home 5-3, and clearly Newcastle were shaken. 85 minutes on the clock, Bazdar pulls it across, finds Seema, who heads it off the bar, and it's in through Kramashi, 5-4. And just as it looked like we might be about to make the comeback of a century, we had sent everybody forward, and it allowed Newcastle to get in behind right at the end. Isaac, Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, a brilliant goal from Newcastle, and it meant we did lose that individual tie 6-4, 7-5 on aggregate, but a valiant effort all around, and I don't think we can complain too much. And that was the only highlight of the season really, because the FA Cup and the Carabao, we didn't go too far again, and the Premier League, as you can see, we finished in 9th place. There'll be no European football from us in our 5th and final season. We have finished on -2 goal difference, 53 points. Look, for an Ipswich side, this is fantastic, but considering where we were last year, I didn't know if it was a fluke or not. It definitely seems like it might have been. Liam Delap was one of the top goal scorers in the division, thankfully, but we're just losing too many, probably drew too many as well this season. I guess European football just took it out of us. But there's some real shining lights in this team that I think we can build around still. I mean, Leif Davis has been excellent throughout this whole thing for us. Liam Delap is getting better and better. 28 goals this season, age 25, now an England international as well, scoring on his debut. Seema got 9, Pablo Torre with 12, Braithwaite with a very good first season, Martel, Kramashi, Missouri, all of them chipping in. Bazdar, like I mentioned, got 11 goals, and now we head in to our 5th and final transfer window with £80 million. That's amazing for an Ipswich team. Our reputation has gone up. We've managed to buy the stadium as well at this point. The facilities are looking great, and club vision wise, the board couldn't be more than happy. The finances, we got loads of money in the overall balance. The debts and loans look good too. So it's time to go. Our 5th and final season, £80 million to spend. We've been pretty sensible in the market up to this point. Are we going to continue that, or are we going to have one final splash to improve this team? Well, in our final season, we have gone for it. £100 million worth of transfers to talk about. That includes both incomings and outgoings. I still don't think we've gone stupid in the market. I actually think we've bought good value and we've bought in some top talents. The first sale I should talk about though is Ego Ugbu, because it was only during this transfer window when I noticed he wasn't even with us last year. He got bought out on the last day of the transfer window, as I was already simulating. His release clause got activated, 29 million from Atletico Madrid, where he's now a regular starter for one of the biggest clubs in Spain, so clearly we caught his talent early. This season we've also loaned out Asadi because he didn't want to be here anymore, so he goes to Burnley. Tommy Doyle too wasn't going to get the game time this year, so he's gone to FC Köln out in Germany for a £5 million loan fee, which is not bad at all. Luke Wolfenden said he wanted to move on for a new challenge. His contract was nearly up and he wasn't playing as much as the years have gone by, so he's moved to Wolves for 200k. Jack Clark also moves on, 2.3 million to Southampton. Not a crazy fee considering how good he was, but last year he did not really play, so it was lucky to get anything for him. And then Samed Bazdar, I really thought could be great competition for Liam Delap and be one of the best strikers in the league alongside him, but unfortunately he decided he wanted to move on. I can't really begrudge him because he's gone for 20 million to Out Alley and he's getting 350 grand a week, which is probably the total of our whole club's wage bill. So yeah, fair enough Bazdar, go and enjoy yourself. We then spent £6 million on a new gen Argentinian international who is only 19, Carlos Ferreira. What a talent he's going to be, labelled as a wonder kid, huge potential. This is a great signing for such a small fee. And speaking of new gens, there was another another Argentinian to join the 3 that we already have at the club. This is Pablo Duarte, who joins for £12 million from River Plate in what's almost a luxury signing now for another option at left wing. We then spent big money on Faticanti Giacomo. He is an Italy international, 23 years of age, from Salento. We have signed him for £19 million, which I think is a good deal for the player we're getting, a very accomplished midfielder. And then we replaced Ugbu Ugbo with a player much younger, 22-year-old French defender Bastien Mumuyepu, who we have signed from Wolves for 27 million, formerly of Nantes. This guy has got a lot of potential, a lot of ability to, kind of fulfills Ugbo's physical presence that we had in the back line, 6'4", a big player alongside Braithwaite. This is going to be a very good back two. And here is what is now considered our final best 11, and it is Muric in goal, who stuck it out for the whole rebuild alongside Missouri, DeBast, Braithwaite and Leif Davis, another one that survives the full rebuild. Fatih Kanti, Kramashi and Torre make the forward line, with Fermin, Ferreira and Liam Delap ahead of them. Delap another one that survives. We've got lots of players on the bench that survived from the start, to be honest with you. Connor Chaplin, Jacob Greaves as well, Amari Hutchinson, and players that we signed early like Joe Bellingham, but we haven't really had any major developments from the academy. The best one was this guy, Charlie Broccoli, whose name is amazing as well, so I hope he does make it. Let's not forget all the young Argentinians as well, the two that we signed this window and the one from last window, Valentin Torres, who will be back with us in no time, I'm pretty sure. Yes, in 7 days time, he'll come back and be our other backup striker. So I definitely think everything is going in the right direction. If we have a look at the season preview, it is an 11th place predicted finish, 150 to 1 odds. It's not great odds, but you're telling me there's a chance. And this year, because there was no European football, we were able to focus a lot more on the league, but also the cup competitions. Because in the Carabao Cup, we had made a semi-final against Chelsea, although we conceded from a João Felix penalty very early on. And then not too long after that, Chelsea were able to make it too. Cole Palmer with his signature move into the corner of the net. And unfortunately, our time in the Carabao Cup seemed to be over. Cole Palmer in the 80th minute, across to Adeyemi, and he managed to tap it in to make it 3-0. But as time ticked on, with 94 minutes played, Kramashi went down the right wing. We were 3-0 down at this point, and through a Wesley Fofana own goal, we had managed to pull a goal back for leg 2. So when Chelsea came to Portman Road, there was at least a little bit of faith that we could maybe get something done here. When Liam Delap scored after 6 minutes, it was game on. Chelsea though hit back pretty much instantly from a corner to make it 4-2 on aggregate. They were able to bring the ball down to Sancho, who curled one into the far right corner. We were not giving in though, and before the end of the first half, Kramashi played through Liam Delap, who managed to thread through Ferreira, the young Argentinian, with a great finish. And with only one goal in the game, we were able to add another one. Fermin Lopez, the former Barcelona man, passed Jorgensen to equalise. And that meant we were heading to penalties, where João Felix scored from the spot again. Up stepped Torres, who powered home. Fagioli was then up for Chelsea, and Muric saved. From there, we scored all our penalties, and Eric Martel topped the lot to get us through. And that meant we were heading to a Carabao Cup final. No real domestic success before this in the cups, but this time we had a chance of winning a trophy. And after beating Chelsea, we were up against Spurs. Now they have actually got a taste for trophies in this rebuild, having won the league, but this brilliant Liam Delap turn and goal got us 1-0 up. Honestly, Liam Delap had really turned into an amazing striker for us across the course of this rebuild, and we were able to add a second of the game as Fermin Lopez received the ball in the area and scored brilliantly to make it 2. And to top it off, Pablo Torre, the other Barcelona man, powered it home from a penalty, and that meant comfortably we had won a Carabao Cup. Spurs did not have one single shot all game, we had won a trophy, and that wasn't the only success we had this year. Because in the league we had gone for it. With no European competition, we suddenly turned a corner really with our form. We've got lots of great players in the team now, and we proved that with a 73-point finish. 7 losses all season, all against big teams, all away from home. Portman Road was a fortress this year. We had quite a few draws, mind you, but 21 wins, 23 goal difference, the same amount of points as Chelsea, and in fact, even though it was a poor year from everyone else, we were only 4 points away from eventual league winners Manchester City, and we actually lost less than they did. They just got less draws. So clearly, we have taken the right steps with Ipswich, and if any of you continue this on Patreon, I think you've got a very good chance of making these a Premier League winning team in no time. The facilities are great. We've got lots of great players in the youth academy. The players in the squad are amazing as well. Lots of players with huge potential and so many great performers. I mean, Liam Delap with 18 this season, that's less than he normally gets, but let's be honest, it's okay when we've got the likes of Seema scoring 14, we've got 13 from Pablo Torre, 10 from Fermin, 7 from Carlos Ferreira. We're spreading the goals around. Even Connor Chaplin still going strong, a real unsung hero of this rebuild who's done such good stuff for us. Lots of very important goals. But there we go, that is the Ipswich rebuild complete. We have got them to a Carabao Cup final. We have won that trophy. We've played European football and finished in a Champions League space in our 5th and final season. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for all the support, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.